Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Roosters on Olentangy River Road in Columbus, Ohio, the greatest city in the entire world. This is Lettermen Live. It's a fun, casual conversation brought to you by Roosters. Ohio State is officially into the season. The college football playoff chase has begun. Thank God. Last week was awesome because we got to preview a game. Now we get to talk about a game. Ohio State is into it. 52-17. The Buckeyes opened the year with a win over Nebraska. And it was a weird day. But just because the fans weren't there and there was no school session and all that, but everything else at kickoff felt normal. Doug Worthington, Nicole Cox, Justin Zwick, Evan Spencer. We've got somebody else that's coming later, and this week's Tuesday appetizer is mac and cheese bites. So
I'm going to eat all these before he gets here. And then we're going to tell him we ran out.
We're going to need 10 more bags.
We ran out. It's the appetizer of the day.
I was going to say, how is Schlegel not here?
I know. Thought he'd have been here banging on the door this morning when you guys opened up.
He's in the back kind of eating them right now.
A lot of this order came for a reason.
He's actually cooking the mac and cheese bites right now.
He's back there for sure.
Schlegs will be here in a little bit, but we don't need him to get started. Buckeye leaves. Let's start with this. We're going to do it differently on Mondays here. It feels so good to be here after a game and to break it down. We're going to just dive right in with players of the game. Buckeye leaves, whatever appetizer they earned in that win. Mac and cheese bites this week. Nicole, we're going to start with you. Buckeye leaves. Who caught your eye in that 52-17 win over the Huskers?
So I felt like there was a lot of talent, and it was very exciting just because we were finally out there and getting to see everyone and the anticipation and the excitement building up. I have to say the receivers and just the skill position players, I mean, they were amazing.
It's hard to pick just one, right?
I know. And so, Master Teague, he did a great job. He was better with, straight rushing. But he had that and then, scored two touchdowns. And it was great. And Chris Olave, I think, though, I'm going to have to give my Buckeye leaf to him. He was awesome. And, he took two major blows, too, during the game. And so I think, the sentiment of that, just hoping he's okay. I mean, he went off the field, and so, but he was great and almost had the touchdown as well. So
scary. That was a really scary hit, and really it was, you hope now. We'll see if he practices this week. Ryan Day we don't know exactly how. He doesn't like to talk about injuries, but if he practices tomorrow or on Thursday, we tend to get a good feel of that. And then the deadline, Friday, is he going to be able to travel or not? Ohio State's going to have to make that decision because they're not at home. So will he travel? Will he go? Evan, you know this for that position. That's a tough deal. Ryan Day talked after the game. He had that look in his eye where he thought he was going to be okay, but that'll be you're playing Penn State. You want Chris Olave. Right. That's the bottom line.
No doubt about it. I mean, and even touching on the injury, right? Obviously we all are hoping for the best as it relates to that. But I mean, I'm sure as a lot of you guys have been, I've been in the protocol. So it's odd, right? You have these weird, ambiguous tests that you kind of have to figure out a way to pass and showcase to everybody that you either are or
how do I pass this thing? Let me go down that line.
They're not supposed to work like that. I mean, to trick the system.
It's not tricking the system, man. I mean, but more so looking at it like, okay, well, if I have a baseline, right, and then I can say, hey guys, I've been telling you that I'm healthy. I've been telling you that I'm healthy, and my scores or my tests results match that, then great. If not, then you can't play ball. Obviously, the timing isn't great, but at the end of the day, we just hope that Chris, health-wise, is good looking forward, and that we can get him back as quick.
Yeah, and you just hope at that time of the game where it's like, all right, we don't need him to go back out there. Let's just go ahead and wrap this up, make sure we're safe, make sure he is 100% good.
Exactly.
Reevaluate it later on. You hope that's the case, but
if we're reading the tea leaves, like I was watching him, I was thank goodness, I'm one of the few that got to be in the stadium on Saturday. Like they took him into the tent. They looked at him for a while, and he didn't go immediately to the locker room after that. And to me, again, I'm not a doctor. I don't know. But generally, if it's clear that it's a concussion right away, they're not going to let you hang around on the sideline. They're going to get you out of there. So I don't know. I guess I'd be optimistic that he's going to be okay, and you want him this week. But, Doug, for you, a Buckeye leave, what do you got?
Just hitting on the wide receivers because I don't want to be remiss about that talent. Jarrett Wilson came in and was a dog. I mean, him being in the slot, being flexible to be able to go inside, outside, his versatility was amazing. He caught the ball in traffic, and he got up and got out of there. And he's going to make the big play very, very soon. But when it comes down to just Chris Olave, he definitely brings another element of just leadership. He's quiet. He does like Trust does. He gives the ball back to the official, and he just keeps everybody solid. So I love what that looked like. I have to give mine to 92, though. The fact of the matter is how he came. He didn't start, so he was obviously the off season that he had to be able to, get shot in the face and to bounce back like he did.
Didn't start. We didn't know if he was going to play, right?
Right. Didn't know if he was going to play.
Yeah, it's
and
crazy.
Then, the defensive line as a whole, didn't play as great, but for him to have that, I'm rooting for him, and I love the way that he came and displayed, for sure.
What a crazy story. Everybody was uncertain if they were going to get a season, but this guy, it's not hyperbole. He was shot in the face. It could have been dead.
I saw you guys talk about after the game, your rapid fire or whatever, and Berm said that, and it's like, that's 100% true.
Yeah.
Right.
That is an area where it could have went bad real quick.
A couple inches either
and
way.
he's out making sacks on Saturday on October 24th. It's amazing, right?
Playing passionate and hard,
man.
Yeah, that was a great point there, Doug. He made an impact. Evan, you just going to stick with the wide receiver?
No. I'm going to make it hard on my man right here and take Justin Fields as my Buckeye player.
I know. I was going to say all these other guys are getting the love. I got to show the quarterback some love.
Well, I know. I'm going to make your job a little tougher. But no, I mean, if you're thinking about it, right, one incompletion off of realistically what could have been a completed ball and touchdown, another one for the good guys. But to just come out with so much over him, right? With the drama of, getting a season, being able to be the face of a campaign in the Big Ten, as a whole, and then just to go out there and perform, lots expected of you, and you went out there and surpassed expectations. So, my Buckeye goes to Justin Fields because it's going to be a building process, right? Whether it's, us being able to win games at the end of the year or him being able to get the trophies that he deserves, it's going to take games like that, but getting better, right? Trying to find a way, even though the completion rate can't get any better, but just making better decisions, cleaner process, the whole 9 yards.
Well, I was talking with Nicole before the show about that, and we were kicking around the Buckeye leaves, and we'd talked about Justin Fields because he is so special. But, Nicole, you drove that point home with the different talent that's assembled, and you've got Trey Sermon and Master Teague to hand the football off. They could play better, but that helps in the backfield. Those weapons, Olave, Garrett Wilson, Jackson Smith and Jigba coming on, Julian Fleming, Jamison Williams, like that's going to help make Justin Fields look so better because he can just give it to anybody.
Yeah. It takes a team. It takes a team.
It does.
But Justin Fields is amazing. Justin Fields is amazing. No, I do want you guys to know that.
We can make that point.
Yes.
As well.
The offensive line.
I love it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, that first half, I didn't necessarily think I'd be giving them a Buckeye leaf, right? Because the run game didn't seem to, it wasn't very clean. But I went back and rewatched some of the highlights and the throws that Justin was making. Cat had plenty of time in the pocket. He had clean pockets. He had plenty of time to sit back there. A couple times he held on to it a little bit too long and tried to use his athleticism to get out of trouble, and we had a couple of sacks there in that first half. But most of his throws were from a clean pocket, nobody in his face. He had time to read his cues and get down and get through a couple progressions, and that all starts up front. So, as a quarterback, I used to get beat up quite a bit with a young offensive line back in the day. I know how important it is to have those guys up in front of you. And, so I got to go there since he took my quarterbacking. But, I'd spread it out to there. And, run game wasn't great, but I think that's to be expected kind of in the first week of a season when it's been like this. You've been going up against the same people, for so many days, and then you get a different look thrown at you or you get this or that, and you got to adjust. And I think they did a great job with that.
Jay-Z, when I watched Justin Fields, and we talked about this a little bit last year, the next step would be, 2, 3, 4 reads, getting through a progression, maybe not taking some of those sacks, but A, he's confident in his ability to elude the pass rush, and B, he doesn't seem to ever want to throw an interception. Yep. And he gets in the situations where maybe it's second 16, he takes a sack, but I think he'd much rather do that than make the mistake. Yep. You'd take that. And I just don't view it as a problem for him.
Yeah, well, with him, anytime you have an athlete of that caliber, they're in their head, they're never thinking, "Oh, this guy's going to get me." He's like, "Oh, I'm going to make a play, and this is going to be on SportsCenter top 10, tomorrow morning." Yeah. So, when you see him bouncing around and making guys miss, he just is so confident in his abilities to make a play. But 20 of 21, basically 21 of 21.
Yes.
I don't think people understand how hard that is.
All right.
As a guy who played, that is really hard to do, to not have one errant throw or one I sailed that one, or just that one got tipped or this or that.
For that matter, Garrett Wilson slipped on one of the hitches that he ran over on our boundary, and the placement of that football was still perfect.
It was. He was on the ground.
Exactly.
He was on the ground. It just perfectly.
He sees his target,
Yeah.
and it's not above, behind, below, or anything. It's just right where it needs to be.
So it's amazing, and that's. it wasn't, 20 to 21, 275, 2 touchdowns, 1 rushing. Like, it's not like, oh my gosh, look at this day. The 20 to 21 kind of is, but, you're not throwing for 500 yards, that sort of game. But still, man, the way he managed it, he didn't have much of a run game in that first half, and he was still putting, that post he threw downfield for the first score.
The first one, I was like, oh, man.
Man, I saw that
this
ball.
This boy's ready to play ball this year.
Wow, yes. I'm like, that is a throw. So he's ready to rock, and, once the rest of that gets going, we're just going to see more wide open guys downfield when that run game is working better.
And I take the different angle of it, because why these guys are watching the guy in the pocket and he's seeing the whole throw, I'm watching the trenches. So, like, Josh Myers, like, he was in there, and again, this is the beginning of the season for everybody. And the guys in Nebraska on scholarship, and they're really good.
Right.
And they had some great stunts, and they hit him in the mouth a few times. And guess what? He made a little bit of a hiccup. But when it comes down to this season and who they are and who we know them to be, he still kept a great pocket. He still had good movement. They still got up to the linebackers when it come down to them double teams. And then you got a guy like Wyatt Davis who understands, like, the emotional side of this. Like, these kids are going through something that we've never, ever had to deal with. Right. He had to say, I'm leaving Ohio State. Okay, can I please come back to Ohio State? Okay, let's play a regular game. So I take my hats off to them young men, and it's definitely different environment. I know we got to always keep their mental health at bay and kind of figure out, what's going on in their systems. But they played not a perfect game, but a game that I'm proud to say, hey, watch what next week looks like.
Right. Sure.
Like, I know we're not there yet, but when it comes down to a wounded Penn State, they have a great matchup to really prove who they are, and they got the best coaches in the NCAA. It's going to be fun to watch.
Yeah, we'll get to that later, but Nicole can't wait, because this is her segment.
Yes.
At the end, she knows she has to cap it off with the prediction. She's 1-0 against the spread.
There you go.
I believe it was 38-7 that she had last week. So
Start betting on you here in a
that's
second.
a cover any way you slice it. So on the road, primetime game at Penn State. We know Nicole's going to get this right, so we're going to need to take some notes. What do you got coming for us?
Oh, gosh, guys.
You got my money on the line now, too.
I feel like it's going to be closer of a game.
Ooh, okay.
I do.
Spread this week, by the way, I didn't give it out there for you. It started at 8. Now it's 10.5 for Ohio State.
Okay.
I don't know if that
So,
influences your thinking.
yeah, like 38 again. I don't know why I keep
You like
choosing
that?
that.
Yeah,
I
hey,
like
if it
38.
works,
I
it works
like
for
it.
you. It works for you.
And 28.
Ooh.
38.
Yeah.
Ooh, right on the
Yes.
right on
See
that
what happens
number.
with that line. It's right on it.
Yeah.
Depends on where you got it and when you got it. It might still be a cover for us.
That's true, yes.
But Nicole's got another win coming. We've got a lot more coverage of Ohio State with that win over Nebraska.
Schlegel's back.
Oh, there he is.
He
Got a
done
little
cooking
juice
up the
in the
mac
room.
and cheese bites, so we're going to tag him in. We're going to take a break. We're going to refuel. We got a lot more coming. Ohio State 1-0, getting ready for Penn State on Saturday night. Stay with us. Lettermen Live brought to you by Roosters.
Roosters is one of the unique companies that we deal with. They're involved in everything we do, from our personal foundation to also the Cancer Research Fund. And that's from the Buckeye Cruise from Cancer to all the events leading up to the Buckeye Cruise.
They donate back to different organizations that are near and dear to their heart, and we're so fortunate to have been with Roosters now for a long, long time.
All the folks at Roosters are just genuinely kind folks, and they want to make a difference.
Thank you, Roosters Foundation.
Thank you, Roosters Foundation.
Thank you, Roosters Foundation.
All right, welcome back to Lettermen Live at Roosters. Anthony Schlegel.
What's crap,
We've
man?
downgraded in some ways.
Yo, Dad did.
But he
Have a
is
face for
captain.
radio.
It's this week. Hey, this week it's Schlegel Tuesdays. You can really get mac and cheese bites. That's $2. Set.
$2 Tuesdays, man. You come in here, they're $2 for an entire basket, so
It's wild.
it's amazing.
It is amazing.
Schlegs, we gave out some Buckeye leaves for our players of the
Yes.
game, so you've got to join in the party here. What did you think for week 1?
Wide receivers, Justin Fields.
There you go.
Yeah,
Yeah, you basically
so far,
covered
a couple
yeah,
guys that have been taken.
Basically.
You can say Haskell Garrett.
Yeah,
You know, he had a sack.
Doug's got him.
He's not going to say mine.
Hooker got the start.
Yeah.
I think he had a fumble recovery. Seven Banks had one to the house. I thought the secondary actually played pretty decent. I thought the linebackers played pretty good. I mean, they were the 3 leading tacklers on the team.
That's good.
Here's the deal, man. There's so many. We talked about this morning on Morning Juice, right? The game is, I thought the Buckeyes were as advertised, right? There were some areas in which they exceeded my expectations. I thought like the wide receivers really didn't know the timing until we saw it. Justin Fields, 20-21, 2 touchdowns and a run where he spun into the end zone. Guy's an absolute freak, throws a phenomenal ball. His only incompletion was to Chris Olave. That should have been a touchdown that he dropped because he landed on his back, right? That was outstanding. I thought that the running backs really had no flow, right? They couldn't get in sync. I didn't really necessarily – I saw great pass protection, all right? But you're also going against the Nebraska whose D-line was not returning, right? Everybody was new. And Ben Still, I think, was their best guy. He went out early in the first quarter. So I would have thought that we would have been able to get significant push up front to really get our running game going. We really didn't have a running back. I actually thought Steele Chambers looked at the best of the 3 running backs.
I agree with that too.
So I take that. I like the fact that we can go get a 4th and 1 without back in the Urban Meyer era. We had to take it out of the gun. Yeah. Like we actually have a quarterback that gets under center, and we teach that, which is absolutely fantastic. So there's kind of your offensive snapshot.
So there's your Buckeye leaf.
and then if you go
Buckeye leaves around, baby.
Buckeye leaf recap.
Yeah, if you go look at defensively,
position that didn't get a Schlegel.
Well, if you go look defensively, like I really wanted to see the guys pin their ear back on tight ends, like. But they didn't really throw to the tight end, right? But did they block well? I don't know. I'm not going back and watching the film. I'm not a coach. But then the D-line really been able to pin their ears back and go and put pressure. I really didn't see that, and I was kind of waiting for that to happen. It was good to see some of the interior linemen be able to do that, which they need because that also frees up the outside.
What's up?
But then you look at some of the zone coverage that we had, and I like playing zone, but then there's some key things that you don't ever do in zone. Like when you're a linebacker and you play zone, you always make the guy go around you. Why? Because if I let the guy go across my face, he's unabated into the soft part of the zone. You always make him go around because it also makes you pack it back, right? Because then if not, you get caught up in that 8 to 10 yard range, which is called quote unquote no man's land. So I didn't really like that. Early in the game, we weren't setting the edge, and I think some of it is people forget the first game of the year.
Right, I was going to say that too.
Yeah, see, boom, we weren't setting the edge. First game of the year, we have no film on Nebraska. So the guys have to play from what they saw in practice, which probably looked different than what they actually saw on the in the game. So you have to trust your training, you have to trust your eyes, and I think they had some hesitation. Then they were able to settle in. Nebraska really only had 2 drives, right? But going into this week, coming off of a Penn State that rushed for 250 yards, and we allowed Nebraska to rush for 210, I believe, that's a little bit of a concern. But I thought for our DBs to have continued success like they've had in the past, we definitely have to get that pass rush up, right, and going. So, again, I thought it was as expected, right? It didn't exceed my expectations. It wasn't below expectations. I thought it was on par with my expectations. And 52-17 is a win to where they can go back and they now have actually some film that they can teach the guys on outside of Buckeye on Buckeye.
Right.
Now I'm going to eat this.
Well, and you can still have this feeling of, like we all kind of felt in the first half, like you can still go in there and watch film and get after these guys a little bit, because it wasn't as what you expected them to come out.
Yeah.
So I got this question a lot on Saturday, and I know how I feel. I don't have concern about Ohio State's rushing attack. I don't have concern about their pass rush because I know who coaches.
Why don't you have concern about their rushing attack?
I think people don't care what I say. They care about you four. But why don't I?
Why don't you? Because your name is Austin freaking Ward from Wyoming.
Because I think that I saw things in the third quarter and second half from Trey Sermon that tells me he can eventually pull ahead and be the guy. I don't like the rotational series. I don't think that the running backs get any flow. We went through all of this 2 years ago with Mike Weber and J.K. Dobbins. I don't believe that it works personally, and I didn't like seeing it on Saturday. I understand that there's a competition for them. You may want to see some game reps. You want to make sure that Master Teague is healthy. You want to see what Trey Sermon does. That's his first game. I thought he got more comfortable in the offense as it went on. So I'm not concerned about that. And you referenced Steele Chambers, Schlegs. They've got a third guy who can help if they need to, and Justin Fields is pretty good too. So I have no problems there.
Let's hope one's not running that much.
Well, that's also a big part of it. And in the pass rush, for me, what reason I'm not concerned, Zach Harrison and Tyreek Smith didn't even play in the first quarter. I don't know specifically the reasons behind that, but you have to assume that those potential first-round draft picks are going to start having more of an impact as the season goes on. You get out of a training camp, sometimes you deal with injuries. I don't know specifically what it was, but I expect that they will play more. So those two things, if those were at the top of your concern list, that's why I don't have worries about it.
That makes me feel good.
Yeah.
Austin Ward is good.
Yeah.
Everybody out there, Austin Ward.
He knows what he's talking about.
Solid, for sure.
Well, I mean, honestly, one of the things that I was looking at is not to say that we get preseason games in college at all, but some of those first few games you feel out so much, right? With such a weird offseason, with such a weird camp, and then going into these first couple games. Like, I know one thing about football is a physical game. It's about putting your hands on somebody and defeating blocks. Right, so there is a little bit of getting into the groove of that, right? And whether that's defensively, whether that's offensively, up front being able to move guys so that we have better running lanes, or on defense, whether that's linebackers being able to shed and play with better vision. So I think all of those things will continue to improve and hopefully continue to improve. Like we'll get a much better resume on this one next week. But
I think you're used to going up in those early games against teams that maybe aren't as big or as strong or as have as much depth.
Right.
And not that Nebraska has as much depth, but they're big and strong. I mean, they're playing for Nebraska.
Right.
You know, I mean, they had 5 returning offensive linemen. Those guys know what they're doing.
Right.
They've been in the trenches. They can match our players. You know, now granted, we probably warm down a little bit because they don't have the depth, but it's not. I don't want to make anybody mad, but it's not Bowling Green that we're going. You know, it's not one of those games early on in the year, and it's right into Big Ten football. Boom. You know, I mean, it was always a big deal. All right, Big Ten season starts. You know, week 4 or whatever it is. We're right into it. So,
what's up?
I'm you know that was going to happen. They figured it out. I think the adjustments they made were big. You know, I mean, first couple series, they ran the ball down, a little bit, but I think they made adjustments on the fly, got an idea of what they were trying to do to attack us with, and came right back at them.
I mean, that option's tough to deal with, man. I mean, what I was thinking about, honestly, in my head was that Navy game my senior year.
I remember.
Right? I mean, there was so much prep, so we were ready for that one, but just in and of itself, that offense is so difficult to be disciplined in. Right, so all of this we're talking about first game, shedding blocks, the whole 9 yards, right? Like, but that requires discipline. So I mean, kudos to them for a good game plan. But at the end of the day, athletes and touchdowns win the game.
Doug, your expertise there, the rushmen.
Man, the rushmen have a lot of time to grow. I'm not really concerned about. I mean, Zach Harrison. I know who he's coached by. Even Jonathan Cooper. He got there quite a bit, and it's one of those give and take things. The defensive backs are young. They gave up a couple, and it's the fact of the option. So as we mature, as we figure out who we are as a defense, each defense kind of has their signature, and maybe it's the linebackers. I mean, they play very, very well. I remember when these guys over there with the long hair and things of that nature, they rule. We still have some studs up front, Quinn Pitcock, but at the end of the day, it's like David Patterson, Jay Richardson, things of that nature. We had some dogs, so they're going to learn. They again 5 returning offensive line starters. They got a great Big Ten, shellacking to a certain extent. But guess what? Larry Johnson is going to put it on the film. They're going to understand what they needed to do and what they once were. They understand what the pedigree is, and it's going to be fun to see. Especially next week in the dark. It's going to be nice.
In the dark, I love it. Won't be a whiteout.
No.
It's going to be an interesting
Halloween, man, when the fangs come out.
We'll get into
amazing.
that. There's one more thing I wanted to ask you guys
Good,
about.
I got a mac and cheese bite that kind of resembles a heart. So I mac and cheese bite you.
Thank you. That means so much to me.
You're welcome.
I don't even.
He just
I rarely.
There you go.
It's the
Schlegel effect.
that can fluster me, and I don't. But getting a heart-shaped mac and cheese bite, that just hits you right here.
It does.
So before we close the book on Nebraska, Ryan Day started his post-game press conference on Saturday night by saying that he wanted to apologize to Scott Frost for the final touchdown, which I think is absolutely outrageous.
Okay.
I don't
Why?
know why it was necessary. There were no starters on the field. They had a walk-on running back and a true freshman quarterback. Those guys practice really hard too. And if you want Jack Miller to get some reps, he needs to run at full speed. Ohio State needs to have a backup quarterback. I think it's pretty clear that they don't believe Gunnar Hoke would be that. C.J. Stroud actually took all the reps with the 2s in pregame for whatever that's worth before Jack Miller went in. Tackle somebody. They ran it 6 straight times. They didn't throw it.
We were BFFs all season, right? We held hands. We banded together. We were very outspoken. And then even in the beginning of you see that? You know what I mean? Not mac and cheese bites. But when it came down to at the end of the game, of course, you're 100% right. And we got to get everybody reps.
Right.
When it comes down to Corona season, COVID season, we got to see what people can do. So we need those guys to have live bullets flying at them. So it was just one of those nice gestures of, hey, I respect you. I love what we was able to accomplish. We're back, but we're going to get these guys ready too, for sure.
I don't get it. Tackle somebody.
Well, I mean, that's the thing, right? Like, I mean, we beat the horse a little bit here, but at the end of the day, they haven't had as many opportunities to go, maybe we weren't passing the ball, but go run an inside 9. Yeah. Go run off tackle, go run downhill. And at the, God forbid something happens to any of our key players down the road, but other successful Ohio State teams have had depth, right? They've had leadership where leadership wasn't thought to be needed. And that comes with being able to be out there in live fire. So, I'm right there with them. I guess I understand the frustration. My friend Kenny Bell will be probably hitting me on the head for telling me that that I like the touchdown. But I mean, come on, with the young guys, got to get reps. That's what
it's the soft world we're living in now. Everybody needs a safe space or this or that. You can't go out and score. Woody would have said, "Why? I couldn't go for 3. That's why I went for 2." Yeah. Back in the day, you ran. You did what you could. You got to stop us if you don't want us to score. It's changed.
And it's not like I don't.
How many seconds were left in the game?
There we go.
It
was under
18 seconds.
It was under 2 or so.
There's 18 seconds left in the game. What he's saying was he did everything he needed to do. Do we really need to run that play? I just take a knee and end the football game. That was his why. And obviously, him. And again, you get caught up in the moment because I'm like you guys, right? They had the same situation, Cincinnati Bengals versus the Ravens, 27-0. They went for it on fourth down twice to what? Go kick a field goal. Not necessarily to spite them that they closed out a shutout because nobody cares. But listen, if you don't like that, stop them from getting fourth down, right? So they're going to still go through and work on their mechanics, even in the midst of a season, to go work on a field goal. So I see it. I understand both sides. I understand that Ryan Day has a rapport with Scott Frost. They understand each other. I also understand that he has a job to do to get these guys ready, and they work all week for an opportunity to go out there and show out, because every time I go out, you know I got to show out. Juicy J, 2014 remix.
Check 'em out.
Yeah, you know that. You know that. DJ.
Big reference. I like it. DJ.
So it's like, I understand you're not going to pull them back because they've been straining, they've been working for an opportunity to go score and play. So I wouldn't say it's necessarily ridiculous, but I also understand why he's saying, hey, I want to apologize, because he likes Scott Frost and he probably lost track of the moment, right? A little bit of like, yeah, run this play, right? Maybe you do tackle him, right? Didn't have a problem with it, but the guy scored because dude's out there. When you blow the whistle, we're here to compete.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I guarantee Scott Frost appreciated the fact that you actually did that, because that's an extra rep and an extra play that my guys need to be challenged on. I mean, these are young men, like to Slate point. Like, it's one of those things where we are live bullets, and these guys need to get reps too. And maybe they're all back and forth non-starters and things of that nature. Maybe not black shirts, as they call their defense. But the fact that you gave up a touchdown, the fact that you kind of crawled up and something happened, I don't think Scott Frost is too mad at Ryan.
And at the end of the year, does 52 look better than 45 when you're looking back at the scores and what Ohio State did throughout the year?
I just felt like,
well, it looks better for me.
for me, that it was like,
because I picked 52-10.
That worked out better for Schlegel.
I need another.
Ooh, that was sweet.
I felt like the apology was more embarrassing to Nebraska than scoring the touchdown was.
And just not talking about
point,
it.
man.
I'm just saying.
I like that.
Is this
That's a great way to look at it.
Sorry that you're so
good.
terrible.
You can have that one.
Hey, man, I'm sorry. Let me start this off with, like, I'm sorry that we're this good.
Yeah.
But at the end of it, it wasn't.
I know he didn't.
It wasn't that, but that's
I should have went backhanded and said, I'm sorry you guys couldn't stop us.
That's how a regular fan.
We ran a quarterback draw.
That's how a regular fan would take that.
Somebody
because you haven't played
had to
before.
take it there.
That's okay.
No, you heard what I said about
I know.
it. I don't think he needed to apologize.
Yeah, you know what? Here, Doug's
Already,
point.
man,
Doug's
wow,
point.
Schlegel is coming after me.
Doug's point, and I think it's a very valid point, is when you're coaching, like, who cares? I mean, we got to stop you.
Right.
But he's able to go point out, because they're second team younger guys. I don't know if it was their first team that was still out there. I don't know. But that's a very teachable moment.
Right.
Like, did you curl up? Did you play through the end of the game? Did you play 4 quarters? Right? Because we saw, like, go win. We always talk about in ball, go win the quarter. I just had a 3rd and 4th grade team. We gave up 12 points. We got beat 12-8. We've only given up 3 touchdowns in 7 games. But you got to play every single play. And we lost 2 quarters and we won 2 quarters, right? It's like, don't lose the quarters. So we're always constantly working at going out there and trying to improve. And that's a very teachable moment for them. I just think he was doing it more out of respect for Scott Frost.
And what they've been through this whole thing, trying to get the season back.
Because they've had a lot of dialogue between one another. And again, I think COVID really brought good coaches together, because if you're comfortable in your own skin, during this time, during a pandemic, or a leader in a business or whatever, you're going to be more apt to go look and seek wisdom in different areas from other colleagues. Like, how are you guys approaching your standard operating procedures? Because we sure in hell know the Big Ten wasn't telling anybody what to do back in June.
Yeah,
right? So what do you do? So you got guys that have a high GSF that want to go out and say, hey, what are you guys doing at Nebraska? Have you seen this? Hey, here's what we're doing, right? Because ultimately at the end of the day, we want to play ball. So that's what you're doing. You're chasing angles. You're going down the rabbit hole. And you got a guy who played in Scott Frost, just like a guy in Ryan Day, who both were elite coordinators who are at big-time schools. And they have some common ground there, and they've been talking, right? And so that's why he apologized for it. Was it really necessary? No, I think he was doing it more out of respect for Scott Frost. But ultimately, at the end of the day, the Buckeyes, the Nebraska has to stop you, right? So I think that's why it was. It wasn't a slap in the face to the state of Nebraska or the Nebraska University or whatever they're called, right? The Cornhuskers, right? They're corn-fed, which is fantastic, right? Knock your junk in the dirt. That's how I was raised. Yeah. But that's what it was.
All right. That's the end of
Are we done? Are we done? Is that the end of the show?
That's the end of Nebraska. It's not the end of the show.
No.
They play Penn State.
Yeah, we got a game coming up, baby.
I don't even know who has Penn. Who's Penn State? What are we talking about?
Who are they?
I'm just kidding.
They're the team that lost to Indiana.
How about that, huh?
Yeah.
Have you guys already talked about that? Did you talk about
we're
that?
waiting for you, man.
All right, let's go. Do it right now. Go. Tag and dominate.
Doom, 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 doom.
So we got a question from our good friend Mary. She's here with every single week.
Mary.
Hanging out
Mary,
for
she's the
Lettermen
best.
Live. She says, all right, you got a wounded animal.
Mm-hmm.
We thought this was going to be the Big Ten East Division title game, right? That was the way I talked about it. I think we thought that these are the two most talented teams in the league. Penn State goes out. James Franklin lays another egg, one of many in his career. Can't win big games, gives away ones he should win. That's his trademark, and he did it again. So now that ruined this primetime game day game for ESPN. They're one shot to really hype it up with the Buckeyes this year. All right, but they're okay. So how do they respond to that? Sometimes get dangerous when a team comes off a loss. What do you think, Evan? To go on the road, does that make?
I don't know.
a little more
The danger factor for me is way, way down. You know, I think we're going to take care of business when we get there. But two, I mean, there's a couple factors. One of which they're not going to have their students or just population in the stadium, which is such a big deal because of any team in the Big Ten that literally needs their fans to feed off that momentum and help them with good plays. Penn State is definitely one of those teams. And in the next, Justin and I were sitting there talking before we got rolling, like. I can only tell you one player that seemed like, just an athlete that was better than his opponent, right? From start to finish, and that was their tight end, number 87. So outside of that, there aren't many other quarterbacks making plays, obviously, but there aren't many other skill positions to where it's like, hey, we need to get this guy the ball in space now because that's how we're going to pick up third down. So those two coupled together are reasons why I feel good. But at the end of the day, we still can't roll helmets out there. We need reps, right? And every rep counts. So we got to go out there and we got to try to score on every possession, right? That's just the offensive job.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I don't want to say I'm worried about it, but losing a game, and I feel like what's happened here with Ohio State kind of frees the guys up in a way. I remember, what was it, when we lost at home, and we went and played Michigan State on the road a few years ago, and it was just like, we shouldn't have lost that game, and, oh, man, we got a tough game next week, but we smoked them because it was just like we just came out and it was like, man, all that pressure going undefeated or whatever is off of us now. Let's just go out and play.
Sure.
I don't know if there's some of that with Penn State, coming home saying, listen, all right, well, we lost this game. Now we got to go beat Ohio State to give ourselves a chance, to kind of get our way back.
Yep.
So I think there's a little bit of that. Do I think they're going to be able to as far as their athletes and, their coaching? No, I don't think that's going to be a case. But, I mean, that quarterback, what Clifford I think his name is, I mean, he ran around a lot. Ohio State in the past, we've had problems with quarterbacks that can kind of do stuff with their feet. Now he's not Mike Vick. He's not Justin Fields, but he was serviceable enough. I mean, he had over 100 yards rushing, on pass plays, on called quarterback run plays. So that's another dimension we, kind of have to worry about. And they gave that game to Indiana. I mean, you talked about, coach, kind of losing these games that he shouldn't. I mean, they did. I mean, the quarterback threw an interception on a screen, early in the game where they were driving and probably would have been up 14-0. Just silly plays inside the red zone that they could get cleaned up. They would have probably had a 2-touchdown victory over Indiana. So I expect them to get that cleaned up. I expect a much cleaner game from both sides of their team. But, again, they're going up against a team that's just stacked. So, I mean, I don't think I'm that worried, but they're going to play better, and I think it'll be a good game there, at least for the first half.
Okay. You want to go?
I get it. Because you're going to be. I know you're going to get around it so much. I don't want to end it. I'm going to let him get.
He wants to get his words in before you take.
If Schlegel is going to come after me, I need one of you guys to get back. All right.
So don't worry, I got you.
You're going to want Doug on that one.
So what are you saying over there, Austin?
To your guys' point, I think the team takes on the mode of James Franklin. They are a program. They are a program that kind of feeds off his energy and his go forward and his. We are the best team in the Big Ten, and it kind of gets them in different places, and sometimes it gets them in trouble. I think with that defensive line that they have, I'm actually give a shout out to the guy Anthony Schlegel, number 55, who's a Columbus kid.
Let's go.
Who I helped train. He's a hard-working kid. He made some good plays. The defensive line made some decent plays.
Number 18 made some.
Listen, exactly. He's a first-round potential. So when it comes down to what they're going to be thinking, you got to understand they were thinking about Ohio State. Indiana came in there and got a nice shot at somebody who was kind of peeking around the corner to their biggest foe, to their biggest opportunity. They still want this game, and they understand that, hey, at the end of the day, if we win every game besides that game and we beat Ohio State, we put ourselves right in the driver's seat again. We are the talk of the Big Ten, and we make everything right with what happened last week. So, I know Ohio State is going to handle business, but it's going to be a little closer. It's going to be something that.
All right, don't give it away.
No, yet. But it's going to be closer.
But I think a huge factor is going to be the no students. I mean, you guys have played there, whiteout.
Yeah.
That is the loudest stadium that I've ever been in.
It's awesome.
I mean, it is insane. So that is a huge, huge factor with the offense being able to just talk to each other and make calls and do whatever they need to do.
Urban said it was a 10-point difference.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah, there's no doubt. It really is. I mean, think about all the times you got to go down buried into the red zone. And you're like, hey, we're going to go on more than one on this one. You're like, oh, shit, here we go.
Forget about it. Yeah.
You know, I'm watching the head of that center and be like, okay, we're good. You know, but I mean, it really is. It really is something to deal with because they know that that's their 12th person on the football field. And
well said.
you know, we'll see how they respond outside of it.
All right, let's hear it.
Well, you know what? I'll say this before I get in there. If you didn't see what Tom Allen after the game, right, where he couldn't even talk, right, he was almost brought to tears, like that. That's really what college football is all about. Like, there's a reason why guys love, like, they go into the NFL. They have a fondness for their college, right?
Well,
especially at big time programs because. I remember he has striking machines, right? And in 2018, they had stickers put on them that said breakthrough. Well, they didn't really break through that year. So he's like, nope, we're going to run it back, right? Let's do it again. And they broke through last year and went, I believe, 8-5, right? Went to a bowl game. And then you come out this year, and then you go win that first game over a top 10 opponent, and his guys love him.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, the culture of their team is where it needs to be because they are Indiana. They're not getting the blue chippers, the 5 stars and all that. They have to go develop guys. So for him to get that win, kudos to them. However, when you look at that, the fact that you're Penn State, the fact that you got 488 yards to their 230 or whatever, 210 maybe, whatever it was, I totally forget, and you lose. And the fact that you go in there and your guy doesn't have to score. You could have taken a knee. You could have not run a play. Like we were talking about this today in my leadership class, like it's on the coach. Right, to save your players, just like it was for the Atlanta Falcons. How the hell do we get 2 days in a row?
Right. Yeah, I know. Back-to-back days.
Back-to-back days.
Where you got defensive guys going like this, trying to give the touchdown away.
Never seen that.
He was in.
It's amazing, but everybody knows what to do, right? That's on the coaches, man. It's on the coaches to not even run that play, right? So that being said, when you go in there, and I believe you're right, in the areas in which it gets you wrong, we all played under Tress except, boom, Evan played under Urban. But Tress was like this. And his teams were like that. They never got up, they never got down, right? It was always very sweater-esque, right, all the time. And we knew that. I mean, we knew his style of ball, right? It was, conservative offense, go play great defense, have great special teams, play the field position battle, don't lose a turnover battle, stop the run. Like, that was his game plan all the time. And so we embody that coach. And I think with them, they sometimes get rattled in adversity because I believe that James Franklin gets rattled, which he shouldn't because he doesn't call the plays. Right? Coaches that are calling the plays, I would think would be the ones that are more apt to not have the presence of mind for everything that's going on. That's kind of why you like to give up those duties. So I can worry about managing the game. It's why Belichick and Vrabel are so good at what they do, right? We've seen them substitute a guy in and get a penalty and all these different things because they're thinking about the entire game. I don't think he's that great of a game manager. But that being said, when you go into this, they rushed. They had 250 yards rushing. Can the Buckeyes do that? Well, we got to be able to set the edge. We got to go get some things cleaned up. We got to have our fits better, right? Our guys have to play with great eye control. Tight end matchup versus, Hooker or Proctor and maybe a linebacker, I feel good, right? I think our guys up front being able to stop the run and potentially affect Clifford if we get him in a situation to where they have to throw the ball, that's when I think the rushmen are going to be able to come out, right? Because it's Halloween. Boom, fangs are out. But, the other thing, too, with our offense, what I saw was we could have thrown on them for 5,000 yards, right? It was like, why don't we just throw the ball every single time?
Right.
And you know what, though? I think that's kind of
Evan's okay with that.
Until we get
I see a smile over here.
Until we get this running game going, I think it's going to be one of those ones where we're going to make you have to sit back and stop the pass, which is going to open up the run, and then we're going to keep you honest with the run, which is going to open up the play action pass, and you really don't know what you're going to be able to do because, one, our guys can get open whenever they want to get open. Two, then we'll be able to start getting that push, and I think we're going to be able to control the entire game. So that's how I kind of see it this week. I'm excited for the opportunity. I really wish that they didn't, totally ruin this because it was going to be number 3 versus number 8, which, again, it goes back to the perception is reality. It looks better on our resume that they're number 8, right? And we go into their house and smoke it.
Yep.
Right?
But do we think Ryan Day, we've seen him.
This last one. You got this? Nope.
No, you're good.
No, you got another
do we think he is a guy who wants to throw the ball first to set up the run? Because I feel like last year it was always like, man, we don't know how the run game is going to be, and he would just come out and say, okay, here's 150 yards in the first half rushing. We can do this when we want to do this. I don't know. Even in the first half last week.
Yeah.
I felt like they stayed true to the run game, and then then we go to Justin Fields to bail us out if it wasn't working. What do you think?
I think you're right, but I think that whole we got to go to Justin Fields to bail us out because it's not working will be what changes, right? Because we'll look at efficiencies by getting the ball out of his hand in the air and in the receiver's hand, and we'll say, "Holy cow! Hold on, wait. Okay, so we'll get our run fits together."
Instead of doing that on third down, we'll do it on first.
Exactly, and we'll get our run fits together. We'll figure out ways to get our 5 yards on first down, and it could be off tackle or it could be throwing a slant, right? But let's figure out a way to use our cards, right? Use our receivers. Let them. Please play us in man coverage because these guys can play now. Beat some coverage, find zones, and be able to just dink and dunk them. We saw that we can do it, right? And I'm looking forward to that continuing.
Jay-Z, to your point, I got the sense last week that Ohio State knew that its talent advantage would win out, and there was nothing really elaborate about the offensive game plan because you knew Penn State was coming. Now, I'm not saying that they pulled any punches or that coaches really think about it all that much with going vanilla, but the game plan was not the most creative Ryan Day game plan I've ever seen. That's, I don't think a coincidence when you go on the road to Penn State in week 2. We'll see.
Very astute of you.
Oh, look at him.
Thank
Didn't
you.
know that.
I
didn't know that.
Down.
I thought you were like that Milton is greater than 1, the 5 being greater than 1 for the Michigan guy.
I'm on a real roller coaster ride with Schlegel.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm getting heart-shaped mac and cheese bites.
Because you're doing a wedding. You're
coming
doing
at you like a spider monkey.
Know. Yeah, man, I'm giving you heart-shaped mac bites that I'm melting your face off, and you're going to officiate a dadgum wedding on a Thursday? How do you even know those people?
Alex Ward, how can
Attack
you do
and
it?
dominate.
Yeah,
my brother-in-law.
melt their face. Well, good for him.
Yep.
All right. 2 of you guys have already hinted that it might be closer than the Vegas experts might.
What do they think it's going to be?
It opened at 8. I believe as of this moment, it's at 10.5.
Oh, it opened at 8?
Yeah. And I thought I was shocked that it opened at 8.
Dude, I'd have got back. I don't bet, but I'd have bet your dollars on
last year. Well, I bet my own dollars on it. We'll see what happens when I cross. I believe it's legal in the state of Pennsylvania. Maybe
somewhere.
Maybe I'll use the Lettermen Row corporate card to gamble on that one. You guys know where I'm going to go on this. I don't. Ryan Day against James Franklin is no comparison for me, but I always look at head coach matchup and the quarterbacks and where the game is played. Well, that third one's not not going to be an impact in my mind this week. So the other two, Justin Fields and Ryan Day against Clifford and James Franklin, please I don't know if you could make the spread high enough for me to not take Ohio State.
Right.
I don't know where you are, Doug. You said it was going to be close or closer. What do you think?
We'll start down on your side.
And again, I'm going to say it's going to be close because the emotional aspect of it. When it comes down to these kids at Penn State, because this is their first home game, they're going to really understand what it means to be in this place. That's going to be a desert. It's going to be different. It's going to be weird. But the fact of the matter, they're wounded. They're hurting. They're going to have a great week of practice. When it comes down to some of the things that we shown in that first game, as far as some mix-up stuff up front, when it comes down to maybe some just different blitzes to get the offensive line kind of moving their feet. We got to see some things to kind of get shored up because James Franklin's going to go after it. I do think Ohio State is a lot more dominant. I think Justin Fields is going to play the entire game. I feel like it's going to be one of those Heisman games, one of them Heisman moments, and it's going to be one of those things where, like, man, it was a great game to watch. And, yeah, maybe we win by 14 points, but it's going to be a 14 points that was accounted for the entire game. Sure. It's going to be good. It's going to be a good Big Ten game. It's going to be the game we think it is.
All right, so what's that score, Doug?
I'm going to say it's going to be great, thank you. I'm right here for it. I'm going to think the game is going to be like, let's say 35 to 24.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Flakes.
I don't know if my math is
45-20.
45-20.
48.
That's all you
17.
got for us?
Oh, I thought we were doing rapid fire.
Oh, shoot. I do like the 17
Dang
number.
it. Yeah, I like
you like
17.
the 17 number. I got 31-17.
Yeah, 48-17.
And I'm going to say
What'd I say?
Justin accounts for 3 of them.
Ooh, he's all right. He's throwing. Gosh, I don't know who's going to have him. I think it's going to be close in the first half. I think it'll be a little bit feeling each other out, and then it'll kind of be like this last weekend.
I completely agree with you, Austin. I don't think that they showed any of their hand whatsoever. We didn't see any of the young guys. We didn't see Jameson Williams, right, do a lot of stuff. I think that if Olave feels good this week and you got Wilson and all those guys, I think they're going to have a better feel of their running back. I think that the offensive line actually got a game together, which they haven't had, right? This is their first time in live bullets versus different people making adjustments on the fly, understanding the sideline, dialogue, and adjustments that happen. Like, those are all things that they never had to be able to do this year. So I think all that being in play on the offensive side of the ball, I think that you're going to see Ryan Day want to go make a statement. and say we're gonna absolutely take the manhood of Penn State. And
well, they have a game of film to watch too. I mean, you think Nebraska came in, probably threw some stuff at us, just off of a 40-day layoff and waiting for the season to start.
52.
We've seen Penn State play a game in a tight game, one that they lost. They probably didn't hold anything back really there. I mean, they were trying to win a ball game. So we've seen what they've done and the looks that Indiana gave them. I think they could really study that and get it ready to go.
Really good point.
All right, I've got them at 45-17 in favor of the Buckeyes.
I said 20. You took my stuff. Followed me.
I mean, if I'm going to follow the leader, and you are that guy.
Okay, good.
There go my
Good.
stuff.
Yeah, there.
Can't wait. Saturday night.
That's gonna be awesome, isn't it?
It'd
be great.
I can't wait for this.
It's going to be a big one. This is the kind of stuff we've been waiting for, right? A big game. Even if Penn State lost, it's still meaningful.
Still a big game, yeah.
You can knock them entirely out of the East Division race, and then maybe all we're talking about for the coming weeks is that one looming on December 12th, rivalry, which we can talk about them another time. They were a little more impressive than I expected.
I agree.
I picked them to lose at Minnesota. I
picked them to
very
win.
wrong.
I was right.
I picked them to win, but not cover.
Not like that. Yeah.
What was their spread?
I think it was 3.5.
Oh, wow, they did that. They
handled
covered
their
that.
business.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
So I think we'll have plenty of time to talk about them. And I have to say congratulations to Rutgers.
How about that?
You gave him an S?
I did see
You
that.
gave him an S?
They gave him the business.
Brandon Beam's not giving him an S until you go
Man.
500 in the conference.
This is
big time.
for anyone who watches
7
Lettermen
turnovers.
Live at Roosters. They know how I feel
Yes.
about that
Much
program.
disdain for that
And
program.
I have to say congratulations.
Wow.
Not only did you
Chopping
get bowl
wood.
eligibility
This is big.
just by playing a game, but you earned it with a win
Yes.
at Michigan State. So Greg Schiano just
Chopping
chopped
wood.
that wood.
I feel bad for Mel.
Sparty,
Yeah,
Yeah.
Brandon White got a pick in that game.
Sparty,
Did he?
how bad are you, Sparty? I mean,
Well, Mel's there for a reason, so they're trying to get things back.
But it's
up
also
that
the
way,
difference
but-
between a guy taking over a program in December and a guy taking over February 23rd, right? I mean, honestly, like when you go look at these things, like it's real. He got there super late, and then COVID happened. Like he had no time whatsoever with the guys going into even the spring ball, right? And then Schiano at least had a little bit to start working with, and I think he's done a really good job of getting those guys to buy in because of where he came from. Right? Like, he came from Ohio State where we win here. Yeah. And I think those guys, and then you have a guy in a transfer in Brandon White to say, hey, this is how they do it. This is why they win. And guess what? We also saw that with a Terry McLaurin.
Yeah, and the
talked to a
Redskins
2-5
or,
Red.
yeah,
I mean,
the Washington football team.
he was dropping Ohio State nuggets on their face.
Yeah.
Seriously, what?
Right? Boom, like McDonald's, man. And he's like, hey, listen, remember this feeling. This is what you work for. Go take care of your body, right? Embrace it. Like, let's go get another one next week. Like, he's that leader.
Yeah.
But that's what Greg Schiano is trying to bring to Rutgers.
So congratulations, and
Congratulations.
And we don't drop McDonald's nuggets anywhere. We eat Roosters wings.
Yeah.
all the time.
Yeah.
Proud
Roosters nugget.
Travis
All right.
got him.
Mac and cheese bite
We
nuggets.
dropping mac and cheese
Yeah.
bite
Mac
on
and
your
cheese
face.
Another fun, casual conversation in the books. Great time with these guys: Doug Worthington, Anthony Schlegel, Justin Zwick, Evan Spencer, Nicole Cox. Thanks so much for joining
Thanks,
us.
Nicole.
I'm just Austin Ward. We'll see you next Monday for Lettermen Live at Roosters. Bye bye.